The kingdom of Arendor was shrouded in mystery, a place where magic danced through the air like a whisper, and creatures of the night roamed beneath the light of the moon. In the heart of this land stood the towering stone castle of the Alpha King, Calum. His name was feared and respected, for he was the ruler of the wolves, the mighty Alpha King. His power, strength, and control over his pack were unmatched. But there was one thing that Calum could never control: the curse that bound his fate. For centuries, the Alpha Kings of Arendor had been cursed, a curse that no one fully understood. The prophecy spoke of a mate, his one true love, but the curse was twisted. It said that the Alpha King would kill his mate. It was a fate no one could escape, not even Calum. Every night, the king would lie awake, haunted by the knowledge that the woman he was meant to love was also the one he was destined to destroy. Seraphina was different from the others. She had never wanted to be part of the royal world. But when a vision came to her in a dream, a vision of the Alpha King and the dark future that awaited him, she could not ignore it. The vision had told her of a curse, one that could be broken, but only at a great cost. She didn't know how she was connected to it, but the dreams were always clear. She was meant to meet Calum. When she first arrived at the castle, she felt the weight of the prophecy heavy upon her chest. She had heard the whispers. The Alpha King, they said, was a man doomed to kill his true love. She wondered how she could be the one, how she could possibly stand before him and face the darkness that loomed over him. As she entered the grand hall of the castle, she was met by the cold, calculating gaze of the king himself. Calum stood tall and regal, his dark eyes fixed on her as though he were studying a puzzle he couldn't solve. There was no warmth in his expression, only a deep, sorrowful sadness. The moment their eyes locked, Seraphina felt an undeniable pull. Something in her heart whispered that this man, this powerful, troubled king, was meant for her. But she also knew the truth. She was the one destined to die by his hands. The first meeting was brief, but it was enough to stir something in Calum. Seraphina's beauty was not just in her appearance. It was something deeper, something that called to him. But he could not allow himself to be drawn to her, not when he knew the prophecy. He had been taught from a young age to stay away from his mate, to avoid falling in love, for if he did, he would only bring about her death. Yet every time he saw her, the pain in his heart grew. The curse that had always been a shadow in his life now felt heavier than ever. He could not escape the knowledge that no matter what, he would be the one to end her life. No matter how much he wanted to deny it, the prophecy was clear. Days passed, and Seraphina found herself torn between fear and curiosity. She knew the stories, had heard the legends about the cursed kings and their doomed fates. But standing in the presence of Calum, she saw not just the ruler of Arendor, but a man lost in his own sorrow. His eyes betrayed his struggle, his guilt, and his torment. She wanted to reach out to him, to comfort him, but the words never came. One evening, as the full moon rose over the kingdom, Seraphina found herself walking alone in the garden. The cool night air swept around her, and the scent of flowers mixed with the earthy smell of the forest beyond the castle walls. It was then that Calum appeared, his tall frame casting a shadow across the stone path. "I didn't mean to disturb you," he said, his voice deep, though it carried an unmistakable weariness. "I thought you might want some peace." Seraphina turned to face him, her heart racing as she struggled to find her voice. "I don't mind. I think we both need peace." Calum's expression softened, but only slightly. "You should know that I can never give you peace," he said quietly. "My curse will destroy everything I touch, including you." She stood still for a moment, the weight of his words pressing down on her. "Is it truly impossible to escape it?" Calum shook his head, his eyes darkening with pain. "I wish it were. But no matter what I do, I will always be bound to this fate. I was born to kill my mate, and I will." The word struck her like a blow, but she refused to let fear control her. "Then I will face it," she said softly, more to herself than to him. "I will face it with you. I won't run." He looked at her, disbelief and anger swirling in his gaze. "You're a fool if you think that's a choice," he snapped. "I can't control the curse, Seraphina. I can't control what I'll become. You don't understand what this means. But Seraphina stepped closer, her heart determined. I understand enough. I know what the prophecy says. But that doesn't mean it has to end in death. You and I were connected. I can feel it. And no matter what happens, I won't turn away from you. Calem's breath hitched, a mixture of confusion and longing crossing his face. You don't know what you're saying. You have no idea what you're asking me to do. I'm not asking you to do anything, she said, her voice steady. I'm asking you to trust me. I won't run from you. I won't fear you. For a moment, there was silence between them, a stillness that felt like the calm before a storm. Calem's gaze lingered on her, a battle raging within him. Every instinct told him to push her away, to keep her safe from the curse. But something in Seraphina's words, the quiet strength in her eyes, kept him rooted to the spot. Seraphina was no longer afraid of the curse, nor of Calem. She had seen her fate in her dreams, and though it terrified her, she knew there was no turning back. The curse would not break on its own. It would take someone, to change the path that had been set in motion. But as she stood there, staring into Calem's eyes, she knew one thing with certainty. She was not afraid of the monster he believed himself to be. She would face the curse with him, no matter what it took. Cliffhanger. Later that night, as Seraphina lay in her chambers, the cold wind howled outside. Her heart beat fast in her chest, a strange and powerful connection binding her to Calem. She had chosen this path, but the weight of it felt heavier than ever. She knew what awaited her, death at the hands of the man she loved. And yet, the more she thought about it, the more she believed that she could change their fate. But the question lingered in the back of her mind. Would Calem allow himself to love her, even if it meant breaking the curse? Or would he choose to protect her from the very thing that tied them together? As her thoughts swirled, a shadow passed outside her window, moving swiftly and silently. The days that followed were filled with an uneasy silence. The curse still hung over Calem like a dark cloud, and though Seraphina stood by his side, her presence was a constant reminder of the prophecy. Every time he looked at her, his heart ached, torn between the love he felt for her and the fear of what he would eventually do to her. He could feel the curse growing stronger with each passing day, pushing him to the brink of madness. But Seraphina was not afraid. She spent her days with the king, learning the ways of the royal court, but always keeping her distance from him. Though their connection was undeniable, Seraphina knew that the deeper she fell into it, the harder it would be to accept the truth. She was meant to die by his hand. The curse was not something they could outrun, and no matter what she did, it seemed that fate was a force stronger than her will. However, as the days passed, she began to sense something in Calem. His guilt and fear were eating him alive. But there was also something else, something she had glimpsed in the brief moments when he allowed himself to be vulnerable. She saw the deep love he had for her, hidden beneath layers of anger and sorrow. Calem was not a monster. He was a man trapped in a nightmare of his own making. One evening, as the sun set behind the castle walls, Seraphina stood by the window of her chamber, watching the sky turn red and gold. Her thoughts were heavy, and a sense of urgency gnawed at her heart. She could not keep waiting, could not keep wondering if there was another way out of the curse. It was time to take matters into her own hands. She had learned from her visions that there was a way to break the curse, but it was a dangerous path, one that required great sacrifice. It was not a path of violence, nor was it a path that would involve death. Instead, it required something far deeper, a willingness to trust, to love, and to believe that their bond could conquer even the darkest magic. The only problem was convincing Calem to believe in it. That night, when the moon hung full in the sky, Seraphina went to the throne room, where Calem sat alone, his broad shoulders hunched, staring at the flickering flames in the hearth. The air between them had always been thick with unspoken words, but tonight it felt as if everything was about to change. She couldn't put it off any longer. "Calem," she said softly, stepping into the room. He didn't turn to look at her immediately. You shouldn't be here, he replied, his voice harsh, filled with a deep frustration that made Serafina's heart ache. The curse will claim you soon. You need to leave. Serafina shook her head. I won't leave, she said firmly, stepping closer to him. I came here because I want to help you. I believe there's another way. A way to break the curse. For the first time, Kylam looked at her, his dark eyes filled with doubt and sorrow. You're wrong. There's no way out of this. The curse is a part of me, a part of my bloodline. I can't change it. And neither can you? Serafina stood before him, her heart steady despite the fear rising within her. I know the truth, she said softly. I've seen it in my dreams. The curse is not a punishment, it's a test. And we can pass it. Together. Kylam scoffed, standing up from the throne. You don't understand. The gods themselves cursed me. No one has ever escaped it. I'm not saying it will be easy, she replied, her voice calm but filled with determination. But I've seen that we can break it, Kylam. You don't have to kill me. You don't have to let this curse destroy everything we have. Kylam turned away from her, his hands gripping the back of the throne. You don't know what you're asking. If I don't kill you, the curse will spread. I'll lose everything, the kingdom, my people, myself. Serafina stepped forward, her eyes soft but unwavering. Then let me help you. Let me show you that you don't have to face this alone. For a moment, Kylam didn't respond. His breath was shallow, his mind clearly battling with the overwhelming weight of his fears. But Serafina's words cut through his doubts, reaching the heart of the man he had almost forgotten he was. In the days that followed, Kylam and Serafina began to spend more time together. They spoke of the curse, of its origins, and of the power that bound them. Serafina shared what she had learned from her visions. The curse could only be broken by an act of pure love, a sacrifice that didn't involve death, but trust. The love between them had to be so powerful that it would change the very nature of the curse. Kylam listened, his expression shifting from skepticism to cautious hope. He still didn't fully believe it, but there was something in Serafina's eyes, something that made him want to believe. She believed in him. She believed in them, but every night the pull of the curse grew stronger. Kylam could feel it, like an ache deep inside him. His beastly side stirred, restless and eager to claim what was rightfully his. He fought it, but the struggle was exhausting. It felt as though he was being torn in two, one part of him wanting to protect Serafina, while the other part wanted to destroy her. One fateful night, as the moon cast its silver light over the castle, Kylam found himself standing in the garden, lost in thought. He had just come from another night of battling the darkness inside him. His hand gripped the cold stone wall of the castle as if it could anchor him to the earth, away from the madness inside. But then he heard footsteps behind him. Soft but steady, Serafina. She approached him slowly, her voice gentle yet filled with purpose. Kylam, she said, her eyes searching his, I know you're struggling, but you don't have to face this alone. You don't have to fight this darkness on your own. I'm not sure I can hold on much longer, he admitted, his voice rough. The curse is too strong. I can feel it growing inside me. It's as if the beast wants to come out. Serafina reached out, placing a hand on his arm. Then let it out, but don't let it control you. We can face it together. Trust me, Kylam. I won't leave you. I won't be afraid. He looked at her, his heart torn. The woman he loved was standing before him, asking him to trust her, to trust them. The weight of the curse was unbearable, but in that moment, he realized something. Perhaps this was the only way to break it. Not by killing her, but by allowing her to see all of him, every part, the darkness, the pain, and the love. Cliffhanger. As he gazed into her eyes, Kylam felt the curse surge within him, powerful and overwhelming. The beast inside him roared to life, demanding he act. His vision blurred, and for a moment it seemed as though he might lose control. But just as the darkness threatened to consume him, Serafina's voice broke through the storm. Kylam, she whispered, I am yours, all of me. I will face it with you. The moment hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Kylam took a breath, the struggle still raging inside him. Could he let go of the fear? Could he embrace the woman who refused to leave him? Then, just as the moonlight shone brightest, a shadow appeared on the horizon. Someone was coming, a figure cloaked in darkness, watching them from afar, and with that, everything they thought they knew about the curse, about their love, was about to change forever.